It is Saturday and we are all prepped and ready for a one-sit read of Alexandra Ivy's Don't Look. Even Joey is prepped and ready. You prepped and ready, Jojo? Yeah? He's so snuggling in for a long winter's read. I do have a few things that I need to do today, so I don't know if I'm going to finish quite as early today as I did last time when I read Riley Sager in a one-sit read. But I am looking forward to this, and I'm just going to dive in one chapter at a time, and I'm going to check in with you after each chapter and let you know how it goes. All right, so chapter 1 down, and I'm realizing that all I've been reading is Christmas books all week, and they're so happy and lovely, and this feels so rough. So right now, I'm not loving it. His father just died, so he's back in town for the funeral. There is Dr. Lynn Gale, who looks like a teenager, which really grosses me out. Like, I hate it when books do that. They're like making the male character ogle over this full-grown woman who quote unquote looks like a teenager. That's just disgusting. Okay, Alexandra Ivy, do better. And then there's a woman, she's mean and awful, who runs a trailer park, and it's the winter, which is nice, because it's, you know, fall and winter now. So it's a Christmas book too. Not quite. You know, cruelly kicking out a family that can't pay their rent, and they have a baby, and she's like, not my problem, and she's just really awful. And she's getting ready to walk back to her own trailer, and it's really dark, and suddenly there's somebody there who tranquilizes her and is creepily wanting her to laugh for him like a donkey. It's weird. The whole thing is weird, and I understand. I mean, it says right there, Alexandra Ivy is a New York Times bestselling author. This is my first book by Alexandra Ivy. I'm finding the descriptions of the people to be fairly offensive. As a general rule, again and again and again, everybody is a stereotype, and I'm also finding the conversation to be very clunky and unrealistic. It's like an awkward encounter. Every encounter is an awkward encounter. So I'm not loving it so far, and I don't really, I mean, a mystery has been established for sure. I'm not going to give away too many spoilers throughout the reading of this at all. There's a lot of things that actually have happened to lay down a mystery that I haven't mentioned at all. But a great piece of writing, or even a compelling piece of writing thus far, this is not. Got my coffee, and so I'm reading standing up for the moment. I'm about to teach a class on OutSchool, and so I'm gonna have to stop reading for a minute. But one of the characters in here is a veterinarian, and there's lots of mention of really sweet dogs and things, and if anything happens to a dog, that's an immediate DNF from me. So I just finished my OutSchool book talk with a couple of kids, and I love those book talks so much. We talked about The Giver, which one of the kids is reading in their class, and if you know this book, note the cruelty of this teacher that stopped them reading the book and won't let them read ahead over Thanksgiving break. Stopped right before the naming ceremony. So I did finish chapter 2. I have to admit, I skimmed quite a lot of it. So I'm like, I can't remember what I read. So this is a bad sign. I read chapter 2 an hour ago, haven't read anything since. And I can't remember what happened. I just don't care about these people or this story. I'm gonna give it to chapter 8 and then make a decision. I'm gonna read to chapter 8 and then make a decision. I really wanna do a one-sit read. Do not wanna waste my day hating something. So chapter 8 is gonna be my stopping point. I'll see you after chapter 3. I'm gonna read it right now. Okay, so one of the things that's happening in this book is that there's been a series of letters that Kerr's father, Kerr is his name, by the way, K-I-R, Kerr. But there's been a series of letters that Kerr's father had received or had on his person, and made sure that his son got after his death. Also, his father set up his eulogy, basically, with a local pastor ahead of his death, indicating that, either maybe it was a suicide or he anticipated that he would be dying at some point soon-ish. It's also been established in the book that Kerr has not been home in a really long time, and that he's lost touch with everybody, and that this veterinarian, Lynn, the doctor, is years younger than him, and he has not been in touch with her. So he's talking with the veterinarian now, and you don't need to know the circumstances around that at all, but it comes out that Kerr's father had tried to warn the veterinarian that he thought that somebody was trying to kill the women of their town. And he calls her in the middle of the night, the father does, in the middle of the night, and, tells her this, that she needs to be careful. She will be one of the women who's murdered because multiple women are going to be murdered. So this is the conversation. It says, what did he want? He said he'd gotten a letter. Why would he involve you? Because he was convinced that I was being hunted by a serial killer. We're on page 33, by the way. He was convinced I was being hunted by a serial killer. Kerr sucked in a sharp breath. Why didn't you call me and let me know that he had contacted you? Okay, for a million reasons. Because why would she think of you? You haven't talked to each other in decades, and a drunk old man calls you on the phone. You don't call his son, who doesn't even live there and hasn't been back in decades, so you don't know. How would she even have his phone number? Like, it's just ridiculous. No, the answer is you didn't call him because you didn't think of him because you don't know each other. I hate bad writing. Okay, so I just finished chapter 3. Jerk is the word of the hour in this book, in various ways, like to jerk back, his head jerked, he was a jerk. Jerk is the word of chapter 3. Chapter 3 is sponsored by the word jerk. So this guy over here has been reading over my shoulder. That is a terrible angle. But he's been reading over my shoulder, and we just finished chapter 4. So trigger warning, if you don't like reading about women getting stolen, locked in basements, tranquilized, murdered, etc., then you don't want to read this book. Okay, just finished that chapter, chapter 5. We have our first red herring. Also, just before I start chapter 6, well, I've started chapter 6, but I'm a page and a half in. And I just have to say that Kerr eavesdrops, like, constantly. He's almost all the information that he receives is either handed to him in the form of a letter, or he overhears because he's listening to something he's not supposed to be listening to. It is constant. Okay, I read chapter 6. Just trying to establish the dead dad as being crazy. I guess that's the main takeaway from that one. Just want to focus in here on her favorite word. All right, finish chapter 7. I don't have much to say, just a lot of the same stuff that's gone before. Okay, I finished chapter 8. This is what I'm going to do. I am going to massively skim read the rest of the book. So I've carefully read that many pages, and I'm gonna skim read that many pages. Okay, so I skimmed to the end. The book is formulaic. If you enjoy a what do they call it? A romantic suspense, this will not let you down. I can't really say much about it because I don't want to spoil anything for people who might really enjoy it. And if you do really enjoy these books and you think that I am being unfair or maybe a little harsh, feel free to let me know. It's just, yeah, it's just not good writing. I'm sorry, Alexandra Ivy. I realize that you took time to do this. I'm not gonna say that you put your heart and soul into it though, because this is, I do not read a lot of these books, but I knew exactly what was going to happen. I kind of knew when it was going to happen. I skipped right to the right chapter. My prediction of who it was correct. There was nothing unique about why it occurred or even what it is. And then there's an elongated ending with unnecessary descriptions of people's pain. So thank you to the Zebra imprint from Kensington for sending me this. I was excited. The description of the book on the back is the best part of it, in my opinion. And for all of the people who are excited to read this book, I am sure probably you are excited to read this book because you are already familiar with the writing of Alexandra Ivy. She has a lot of books, and more power to you. Enjoy, to each their own. This is not mine. I don't like giving negative reviews, and I like it when a book can change my mind. I mean, you saw my process. If you haven't seen my process, you can watch the video, but you can see my process in approaching a book that I don't have a lot of high hopes for. That would be a Riley Sager book, but I really enjoy Riley Sager's stories. The writing is atrocious, and I have problems with him personally pretending for so long to be, or hiding for so long behind a female persona, because for so long female writers had to pretend to be men, and men don't have to pretend to be women to succeed in the publishing world, right? So it bothers me that he played that game. But I thoroughly enjoyed that book by the end, and yes, I vacillated between like wanting to continue and wanting not to continue, but I loved to hate it, and in the end I loved it, right? This book from moment one just turned me off completely. Okay, so I am making myself a cup of hot chocolate, but I'm going to one sit read Mother May I. That is a book that I was going to do a one sit read for later this week, and I was going to give it its own video, but I think that I can combine the two. They're both thrillers, but I think Mother May I is going to be a lot different from the one that I just, this book right here. This is an ARC. This is not coming out until April. So this is an advanced reader's copy, and as it says right there on the cover, not for resale. Okay, so outfit change. Put on my pajamas. It's 1:15 in the afternoon and I'm wearing my pajamas. I finished the first chapter of Mother May I, and it's good. It's really good. I love the writing. Um, I'm so intrigued. I know nothing about this story. I am completely blind. There's not even a blurb on the back. I know nothing. So, the book, the first chapter, I think I can tell you all about the first chapter, um, and it will just entice you. It won't spoil you. It's like a beautifully written hook to a book. Um, so there's this woman, and she has a bad dream. She sees a witch looking in her bedroom through her window. It's early in the morning. And she makes a noise, and it wakes up her husband. And then, of course, everything feels very much like a dream. And she's uncertain as to whether or not she really saw it or if she dreamed it. And so she goes about her day. It's established that her husband is going away for an extended period to help a friend. And so she's going to be home alone with her 2 middle school daughters and their newborn baby. And she has to go to her daughter's school to give snacks out to the theater kids. And right as the chapter is ending, she looks out the window of the gym of the theater or whatever it is that they are in at the school, and she sees the witch standing by her SUV. So, is she seeing things? Is this some kind of like psychiatric episode? Is there a witch? Is it a person? I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea, and I can't wait to read the next chapter. So I've just finished chapter 2. The baby has been taken, and there's a note that says, if you ever want to see your baby again, go home. Okay, so chapter 3 was quite short. It's from the perspective of a different character, and it gives more backstory. So I just read chapter 4, and she's been on the phone with the person who's taken Bumper, and the person has laid down a set of rules to follow, and she's agreed to it. So I just finished chapter 5, and just more of the preparing to do what she's been asked to do, more character development, more backstory, and more exploration, not in an overburdening way, like in a really accessible way of like the psychology of what's going on. It's really well done. Really well done. Okay, so I just finished chapter 6, and I've been wondering when they were going to loop back in this character that we got to see through their perspective. Like, we've been through her perspective through this whole time, except for that one chapter, and now it looks like chapter 7 is going to be from the perspective of this other character, and this other character is not the character that that has taken the baby. So we're looping that character back in for more information. She's followed through on what she's supposed to do. She's followed the rules. She's done what she was asked to do. She's informed the person who has her child that she has completed her part in this. And whatever this is, I won't tell you, but she's completed her part in it. And the person just says, you need to wait till tomorrow. I'll call you tomorrow. And then she runs into this person who, it looks like in chapter 7, we're going to see part of the situation through his perspective. So what's really cool about this other perspective character, or these other perspective chapters, is that we get to glimpse the situation through an impartial party's eyes. And so that's a really interesting addition to the narrative. I really like the way that she's done this, has written this. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. I think someone wants me to be done with reading for today, but I'm not. Hey, hey, hey. What do you want? You want? I think he wants a treat. Okay, I'll get him a treat. You know what's happening anyway, and I will see you after chapter 7. So I haven't done any more reading. It is 5:20, and I took a bit of a break to watch some BookTube and to make some like early-ish dinner. I'll probably have some popcorn later. And I don't know if I'm feeling going back into reading right now. This might end up being a 2-sit read. 2 books, 2 sits. I think that's fair, right? So, it is Sunday, and it is 1 o'clock, and I have not read a single word today. I taught an art journaling class on OutSchool, and I made coffee, and I got dressed, and I didn't even sleep in. I planted some bulbs. I had a kit to plant bulbs in a container garden type thing, so I did that. I have dishes in the sink. My table is covered in art supplies from the art journaling class. I have stacks of books everywhere. I have laundry that needs to be done. I have done nothing, and it's 1 o'clock. How is it that some days nothing gets done, and some days everything gets done? I don't understand. Hi, good morning. I have no makeup on, and I just realized I haven't even brushed my hair. The Christmas tree lights are on, and it's still kind of dark out. And under this lump of pink here, the dog is asleep. Like, what are you doing? Today is my first day of of fall break. I'm so thankful I work at a school right now that takes an entire week off. I don't know why I'm whispering. I'm the only one in this house. It's just something about the quiet morning hours. But I'm gonna finish reading this. I've already rated it as 5 stars. Of course, I can change that. Not on Goodreads, but on Instagram. And of course, I can change that if the ending lets me down, but I really don't think it's going to. I did read a few chapters yesterday without recording responses to them. And I think that today I'm going to plow through and just check in, or this morning, because I want to get it done before noon. And I'm just going to plow through and get this read. I'll give you a shot of that adorableness. Anyway, so I decided to go and get ready for the day because a huge twist happened, and I can't tell you anything about it without giving away too many things. But a huge twist happened, and things are about to go down, and I'm not going to want to walk away from the book at this point, I don't think. And that happens, I mean, there's room for lots more twists, and a gigantic unexpected something just happened. I love this book. I love this book. If you are a fan of thrillers, of suspense, this will definitely be a book that you will want to pick up. Now, again, the ending, we don't know, okay? At this moment, I don't know how she can fix it. I can't tell you what it is, but I don't know how it can be fixed. We'll see what happens. this may have gotten just very predictable. As of page 161, I think I know exactly what's going to be happening. So that kind of bums me. All right, so there it is. I finished Mother May I, and I'm going to say again that this book comes out in April of 2021, and you're going to want to read it. So I was right. Like, it becomes very clear what's going on and why things are happening. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable. My dog is gonna try and take over for a second. Anyway, it becomes very clear what is happening and why, and this is a story that we've heard before. It's a story that every other Lifetime movie on the Lifetime channel is about. So that's not what's interesting here. What's interesting here is that it goes a little bit into, well, it goes very deeply into the psychology of all the parties involved. The outcomes are very well handled, I think. One is a little too neat, just a little too neat, a little too perfectly tied up. But I'm going to give it to her, to Jocelyn Jackson, because this book is beautifully written. There are lots of trigger warnings that need to come with this book. If rape is something that is hard for you to read about, then you probably want to steer clear of this book. If child kidnapping is something that is difficult for you to read about, you probably want to steer clear of this book. If you're on the fence about those two things in thriller books, know that they are handled well. And while she does a great job of creating, while Jackson does a great job of creating this sense of urgency and anxiety, at the same time, it's manageable for the reader. There was no point, well, there were a couple of points where I would have preferred to be able to look away, but at the same time, there's nothing superfluous in this book. There's nothing that's talked about or mentioned or described that's not actually necessary for moving forward, either with character development, psychological exploration, or literally moving the plot forward. There's nothing superfluous, and there's very little that's redundant, which is awesome, because I feel like thrillers often retell for the reader what's going on because they kind of seem to assume that we're too unintelligent to follow. I felt like Jackson assumed that we were tracking. All in all, I'm going to give this, I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads before I had finished it, because I thought that it was so incredibly fresh and unique until I got to about page 161. And then I was like, oh, that's what's going on. Okay. But I still had no idea how she was going to tell this story. So there's nothing new under the sun. All the stories have been told. She tells this in a really unique and engaging way. I think it's a really quality book. I really do. I think it's a really quality book. I don't think it's 5 stars though. So I'm going to give it 4.5 stars, which is still pretty awesome. And I'm going to say that I will be reading more of Jackson's books because she is a phenomenal storyteller and her writing has layers. Even when it was revealed that the story she was telling, or the impetus for the story she was telling, is a very stale and old and overly visited, in my opinion, plot choice. It was still a very well told story. So finally we're done we can just relax and enjoy. And in about an hour, I'm teaching another section of art journaling on OutSchool. And I have not cleaned a single thing, so I'm truly gonna do that today. And read 2 books, and one was a win. One was a really good win. I highly recommend you pick this one up in April when it comes out. Enjoy your day. One last thing before I sign off. I kept talking about art journaling and classes that I was teaching, so I thought that I would show you the table setup. It will make it very clear why it is I don't teach art journaling during normal teaching times, because it's like a tornado. Yes, I still have dishes in the sink. No judgment. Like and subscribe. Thank you.